TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Yeah. Thoughts on Jim Herd?
I thought he was just kind of like, just a guy that kind of like, fell into a job and didn't really have the background or the wherewithal to really handle it. And, I thought he was just a,
I never heard of him before.
No, me either. I hadn't either. I think he was a businessman and that knew somebody or something, but he came in, like, took over, but in my opinion, and that's all it is, he didn't do a very good job of managing the wrestling.
Jimmy loved him.
Yeah, he drove us to quit. I mean,
right.
he just it was bad. That and the fact too that we're grossly overworked. I mean, we worked 21 days in a row. Would have like one day off. Then we worked 18 days in a row, and we're making good money, but there's no time to spend it. Because I mean you're working every single day. And I went AWOL actually. We were going on a 24-day loop, and we were headed up north. We worked, I think we worked Philly, and then we worked like Boston, and then we were headed up to the Maritimes.
Yeah.
And I just lost it. I said, you know what? Screw it. I said, I'm leaving. I've had enough. I don't care. And they're going, well, whatever, whatever you got to do. So I bought my own plane ticket home. I just left, and about a week later, I got a letter from Herd that said, I understand you had a problem on the road and stuff. If you come back, we'll drop the whole thing, and you just slide back in. So I did, but I just lost it. I was burned out, and I said, that's it. Screw it. I got to go.
Now, when you left the company and Bobby stayed, was there any heat between you two, or did you understand why he was leaving?
No, not at all. We me and Cornette just were fed up with it, and I think the final straw. We're doing a TV taping, and Ole, who was the booker then, I think he wanted us to do a job for some like a real low team. I don't know who it was or whatever, and Cornette said, we're not doing it. He said, you know what, let's just leave. And I said, well, I don't know. And like for about a month prior to that, he had buzzed us about this this grand idea he had for, instead of being small fish in a big pond there at WCW, to be big fish in a small pond, get our own company. I was going, yeah. And he said, we'll work like 4 days a week, and we'll call the shots. We'll have to, you do this and that, and I was going, yeah, that sounds good. So when the time came, he said, you know what, let's just leave tonight. Screw this shit. So we went to, Bobby said, we're going to go. And, and Bobby being smart, he said, well, he said, I'm married. I got 3 kids to feed. And they said, it's risky. And he said, well, it is risky, but, we're going. He said, all right, best of luck to you. And we said, all right.
They kept thinking they were coming back. All the kept saying, are they coming back? I said, no, man. So Jimmy's going to keep going. I guarantee you he's in the drive-thru at Wendy's by now.
We drove back to Charlotte. We were high-fiving each other and thinking, man, this is great. The chains had been like, just banished from our bodies. We're heading back, and I don't have to get up and go to work tomorrow. I can just be off for a while, and then we'll start this Smoky Mountain thing, and it'll be great. And, but it didn't work out that way. And meanwhile, Bobby, I think about 2 months after Cornette and I left, he got a huge raise, like just to show us, right? He got a great raise, making great money.
Well, Jim Herd called me and said, we're going to offer you this right here. I said, okay, fine. But I didn't know he wanted me to come in and sign the contract right then. I thought, when my contract was up, because my contract wasn't up. So they called me again about 2 or 3 weeks later and said, well, okay, we're going to offer you this right here.
More.
I said, all right, yeah, okay.
he was holding
I was holding out on him. I said, okay, I'll take it. Then finally, Jim Barnett called me and said, we want to offer you this. There was more money. I'm like, maybe if I held out for about a year or two, I'd be making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Now, you were then teaming with Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
What was he like to team?
Good. Real good.
How would you compare him with Stan?
It's different. Totally different. So you got me and Arn in there where it's more like Stan and I got 2 different styles.
Right.
As far as the charisma part. you know, and just me and Arn just like
Right.
you know.
Now you guys went down to Smokey Mountain Wrestling. That started up, and you started teaming, I guess, with Tom Pritchard. How would you compare teaming Tom Pritchard and Bobby Eaton?
Well, Tom's a great guy. You know, he's a hard worker. He loves the business, loves working. The problem there was it was just horrendous trips there. I mean, we were driving up and down mountains, and I went through like 3 sets of breaks in a year's time. And originally I was supposed to move there, but originally I was also going to make a whole lot more money. And then Jim said, well, let's don't pay ourselves too much yet. Let's just see how it gets going. So I'm thinking maybe I better stay here in Charlotte and just drive up there for a while and see. So I did. So I was making a 250-mile trip on Thursday, and we worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I drive back. And so I mean I was putting a lot of wear and tear on my car and a lot of gas money, and the towns didn't really pop. So Jim, trying to get them to pop, he starts hot shotting them and stuff, and putting tremendous heat on us. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, we work in towns like Hazard, Kentucky, and Harlan, Kentucky, and all these little mountain towns. I'm thinking I'm going to get stabbed up here some night for $200 a night, and it's not worth it. So I just got I got finally just burned out of it, and I told him I said Jimmy, I might be gonna get killed up here for this little money.
Right.
It's not. I mean, it's just. And I was starting to get burnt out too. I've been wrestling for like 15 years, and I'd saved my money, and I just thought it's not worth it. So that's how the demise of my Smoky Mountain thing started. But I gave him a long notice. I mean, like about a 3-month notice. Originally, I was going to just give him like a month notice, and he go, "No, please, you can't leave us now. My God, we worked so hard and stuff." So I stayed there a long time.
Now, what were your initial thoughts when the promotion first started? Did you think it was going to take off the way it did?
Yeah, I did, because Jimmy is a smart guy. He knows the business. He's a student of the business, and I thought of any area in the entire country that might work. This more of a backwoods type of hardcore fan. The mountain people. If it'll work anywhere, it'll work there.
Right. What do you remember? How was it different wrestling the Rock and Roll Express with Tom Pritchard as a partner compared to Bobby?
The same. I mean, there's they don't change. They were still working hard. They weren't quite as, I mean, the flame had kind of dimmed a little bit for them at that time. They were getting older, and we all were. So it wasn't as intense then as it was when it was like brand new, and it was like a really strong virgin kind of an angle going on, and everybody just enthralled with it and stuff. It kind of faded a little bit, but it was still good. Memories
of the big match you guys did, where you guys did the 6-man. It was I guess the Rock and Roll Express and Arn Anderson against you guys, and Bobby came in.
Oh, go ahead. It was like a street fight match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's when Arn sprayed you with a fire extinguisher.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was good. We did real good business there. I think it was in Kentucky somewhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you guys did some 6-mans first, and then the blow-off was Bluegrass Brawl. It was the third team. They did Dutch Mantel and who was it? Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden.
Oh, yeah.
Well, these guys are students of the business.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I was there, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think first it was just 6-mans. It was the Bodies and Bobby against Arn and the Rock and Roll, and then they built it up, and then finally did the 3-team.
Didn't Robert Gibson fall off the basketball hoop and break his ankle or something?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration for you ever staying in Smoky Mountain?
No, I don't even know how I wound up there in the first place.
I think it was just a trade agreement because Bill Watts came in to WCW at the time.
No. Because I could make more money, with the WCW.
Now, you also went back to Memphis for a little brief period of time and teamed up with Steve Kearney, and I think just for a little bit. Maybe 1 shot, 2 shots here and there.
Really?
What do you remember about that?
Very cloudy.
What do you remember of your feud with Bobby and Jackie Fulton?
Yeah, good. Bobby Fulton is just a very dedicated worker. He eats, lives, and breathes wrestling. He gets almost like too like involved in it. He gets nervous, like we got to do this spot, and it's got to be right and stuff. But he loves the business. His brother Jackie by contrast is a real quiet, a laid back guy, but he's a good worker. But Bobby was just like really intense.
Right. Now, you guys had a great barbed wire cage match with those guys. What are your memories of that cage match?
My memories of any kind of barbed wire or band. I was never into that stuff. The extreme and get scarred because I'm a macho wrestler. I don't want to have scars all over my face and my body and barbed wire. And burn me. It'll be great. Nah, I'm not in that stuff at all. Just go in there and do your job. And
right.
Let's go out and line some babes up and have some fun. Let's don't get all scarred up here. It's not worth that.
How come Tommy Rogers wasn't included in the mix in Smoky Mountain?
I don't know. Except for the fact that maybe he lived in Florida then, and Bobby and Jackie and myself were in Charlotte, which is a drive, to Knoxville and that whole area. Whereas, Tommy living in Florida and being married probably couldn't do it. And there was no budget for flying, I'm sure, at that time. That's my theory. I don't know.
TitleMatchNetwork.com